Franco. Franco. Earth calling Franco.
Yeah, I'm coming.
Come in, Franco.
Hello. We're getting there. Hello.
Hi there.
Hi.
So, anyways, I got this email, right?
Yeah.
From you guys.
Excellent. Yes.
Really cool. I got
Love to have you guys here.
super excited. I got super excited when I read it. So one of the things I wanted to ask you or talk about, I feel a different energy in this email than I have from any other of your retreat emails. And I was wondering, is there a change of direction in what you're offering? And well, is there, have you changed your direction in what your offerings are?
Well, the difference here I find with this one here is there's a very strong energetic charge about it, like in a really positive way, and it feels really good. So in a way, what I could say is I'm actually allowing that more authentic aspect of sharing, connecting, and providing something that's coming a lot stronger, and it's more open, so that because a lot of more people are more open to receiving not only higher consciousness, but also being open to energies, and they're actually more prepared to actually go through the process and to experience something more powerfully. So we put our heart and soul in this one because it really felt right. This is the thing, it felt.
That's
It. Yes.
Yeah, this is it. You hit the nail on the head there. Your heart and soul, did you say?
Yes.
Is that the word you used? Because with the other events, they're all super interesting, right? I've always thought that your events are very interesting, but they were all up here in the mind, right? In the head. To me, anyway, it felt that it was very intellectual and very mental, lots of explanations and trying to figure things out with the mind, right?
Right.
But with this one, when I read it, even the name, it's like self-discovery retreat, connecting with your true essence. And the photographs that you chose for it is like super nice. I love that. I make those stone things when I'm out on the beach. Every time I'm out on a river or beach, I'll make those and take pictures and photographs of them. And it's just connected at a different level. I felt the connection more at a energetic or heart-based, And
this one here too is also, it almost seemed like, I shouldn't say almost seemed like, it felt like a strong request from the collective that we're ready for this and we need something of this nature, because a lot of people have felt, much more disconnected, and, like the world is going the way it's going, and it can get very polarized still and so forth. And people feel that they're losing their navigation, and it's almost like, okay, we need to get into a source of essence that actually keeps us stable no matter what's going on. And so that's the call I was getting. And when we started looking at doing this, we looked at it last year. It felt like this year it has to be. And then when we started to prepare it and put things together to finalize it, it felt so right. It's okay, this is perfect. This is the right timing for it and everything else. So
yeah, it gives me a warm, fuzzy feeling every time you start talking about this retreat. I love it. When we were talking about it, because I got really excited when I read this email, and I asked if you would be willing to have a conversation with me about it. I kept saying, we're going to do an infomercial. So let's do an infomercial about your retreat. It's not exactly an infomercial, but it's like I'm very interested in this more than anything else. That I can't think of anything else. So if you don't mind, we'll talk more about your retreat, and then we have other conversations and we can talk about that. So one of the things that I liked about even the beginning of it, if I can read a little bit of it. It says, how would life be if you were living from your higher perspective most of the time? Right? What would your daily interactions be like? How much more exciting and expansive would this life journey be for you? And the first bit, living from your higher perspective most of the time. right? And that, I think that's what grabbed me, because I think that up to now in our human collective history, a lot of individuals have separated what they might say, you know, like their meditation time during the day, or they go to yoga, they might go to church or their temple, or spend time in their sacred space at home. And then they get off and watch TV or drink beer or go out, watch football, or have dramatic interactions with an alcoholic son or whatever, you know.
Right.
And it just kind of, they use the spiritual side of it like a break, like they're, and it has been, I mean, even I have said, you know, make sure you take time out, you know. But I know that we have been talking about, many teachers have been talking about integrating your spiritual life and your daily life, and making your work your mandala, you know, work, and making your, even if you're working at McDonald's, you know, be that, make that your meditation. I mean, we have been talking about that for years, but it feels to me that the charge behind these words, the energetic weaving that you put behind these words, you guys did, because you and Kimberly worked on this together, right?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the energetic weaving that came behind it feels like, okay, guys, you know, it's now. Is that how you felt it too, or am I reading this correctly? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I felt very strongly with that, because what we found is in our own experience, when we are in from a higher perspective, not only are you more present, you're actually more of a gift and sharing of wherever you are, no matter what you're doing, right? So even if, you know, you're going through a mall, for example, not that I do that anything frequent of any sort, but in essence, even if you're going through there and you're in that state where you're looking at from a higher perspective, you see a kind of a perfection of everything that's moving along. You radiate such an energy that your reality kind of shapes around you, so that in fact, it doesn't feel so chaotic. And the one thing I've noticed, and even Kimberly has noticed and others have reflected it, is that the people all around you become even more friendly, more open. You'll notice that it's almost like there's a breath of fresh air coming near them or something, and it's like, wow, okay. And they don't have any idea. So that's the first part. The second part is you step out of your judgment aspect of it. You know, you're looking around, you see all the advertising, you see all the bombardment of whatever is around you, and you're neutral about it. Not only neutral, you become that observer where you see how those are staged there to kind of really, for us to give us the opportunity to connect with ourselves. And it's like, okay, that's not who I am, and that's not who I am, and I don't need to play them.
Or the opposite also, oh, that's what I'm like, you know.
Yes,
And
exactly.
sometimes I find, you know, I was in a mall a few weeks ago, well, probably a couple of months ago, and there was this massive screen, and they had an ad running, and then this beautiful scene came up, and it was jewelry, and I love jewelry here, and there was people wearing it, but it was beautiful. I mean, I just stopped and watched this image, and it was absolutely stunning, like a work of art, you know. I didn't buy any of the jewelry, that didn't, and I think that's part of it, you know. You're no longer persuaded through the commercials and stuff, but you are able to, from an observer point of view, really enjoy the human ingenuity and artistry behind everything that's there. Don't you think?
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. There's a whole deeper appreciation for it, without the necessity to say, well, I have to have that for me to feel good or to feel worthy or anything like that.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like you're filling a void. There's no void to fill.
No, and you just fills it up with beauty, you know, because it's already there. You can enjoy it through your eyes, right?
Correct. And if you do want to get a piece, you get a piece, but you're going in there because you feel, I'd like to have that because it just feels good on me, rather than I need to have that so that I can complete my outfit or this or that, or feel good. And what did I do for myself today? You know, type of thing. None of that play. None at all.
That's really true. Yeah. And one of the other things that I like to mention when we're going to malls is that I have often heard people say, oh, it's like they're all sleepers and it's so distressing. And it's true. I mean, if you're a sensitive person, it's going to be tough because there's a lot of people there. And anywhere there's lots of people, it's going to be tough. But not everybody there is asleep. You're there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And 100% probably there's other people there too who are awake or awakening, right? So that's kind of cool. Yeah. So what method or what are you going to be teaching? What are you going to do to make it easier for people to be able to do this, to be able to stay within their own essence and truthfulness? I don't call it higher perspective, I call it their natural frequency, right? Because a person's frequency is really high naturally. It takes a lot of effort to bring it down to where we experience stuff. What kind of tools are you going to teach in this retreat to facilitate for them so they can do that?
Well, it's a good question. There's quite a few things that we'll be doing. There's going to be processes. So there's going to be information really to kind of give us the opportunity to really look at themselves and be able to touch bases with that. But part of the processes that we will be doing is actually taking them through a whole exercise where they actually connect with themselves. And then, see, because what happens is, you said it very correctly, we are of a high frequency. But what happens is we get exposed to lower frequency so often, and that becomes the acceptable norm. So in essence, even though it's up here, to feel that we have to relate with the 3D world, or what we can call our current reality, we lower our frequency down. And then what happens is, I know some people are awakening, allow it to go up, but it still goes up and down. But it's also getting to a point where we allow that to be our natural state rather than this down here being a natural state. So the process is to allow them to go to that natural state, to experience it, and then look through the eyes of that level, and then see how the reality shapes around them based on that. So there's processes that we'll be doing to accomplish that. We're also going to look at any programs, any belief systems, any things that we've adopted, and also the anchors that we have. Because a lot of people get a lot of anchors because if you experience it, for a lot of people, they play various roles in their lives. If they're at home, they play a specific role and they're at a certain frequency. Then when they're around some other people, and if they're, say, in the work environment, then they're playing another role in a different frequency, and so forth. So they actually lose the bearings of where I actually sit. And because if I go to the church, I'm going to be here. And if I go to the work, I'm going to be here. If I'm with my family, I'm going to be here. If I go with my friends, I'm going to be here. If I go with a club, I'm going to be there, right? So you're going to notice that there's all of that. And none of it feels genuine for them. So the process is to actually allow themselves to go at their natural state and then see themselves in these different environments. So that they can maintain that we go through that process, and then actually see how the reality shapes around them while they're doing that without them changing from their natural frequency.
Right. So instead of them shifting or changing into the environment and situation, the situation changes and shifts to their frequency.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So when you say the anchors, can you tell me because you talked about anchors, and then you explained the different situations and stuff. So what would be an anchor in that example?
Yeah, what we're looking at anchors is that when we're looking at someone going in and say they go to their family dynamics, okay, they go to a family gathering of some sort, right?
Okay, let's be at Christmas.
Okay, so they go at Christmas. That's a good one. So they go at Christmas, and as soon as they walk in there, if they have anchors, and most people do, in essence, it's like they walk into that dynamics, and not only do they shift their roles, but they also feel that they're connected to various people. And if they don't play the role, they may lose the connection with them, or the fact they won't be accepted or anything of that nature. And those are considered anchors, right? So they go there and they may have an issue with mother or whatever. And so automatically, the moment they start engaging, they activate that part of it. And then all of a sudden, because I've seen it many times, somebody's feeling good and so forth, and they start to interact with a family member or something, and they kind of push their buttons or whatever it is. And all of a sudden it's like, boom, right down. And then they can't even disconnect because their whole essence changes. And like, even if you're there for the rest of the day for Christmas or even the next day, it's so hard for them to pull out and even allow their vibration to go back up, because in essence, they've now anchored to that individual and what was said or exchanged or anything of that nature, right? So that happens with work. You know, you can have an anchor with your boss, you can have an anchor with a lot of other people.
So the anchor would be almost like an agreed upon frequency where they relate to each other, like
yes.
Okay,
yes.
so when you get stuck on, so when you get stuck onto that agreed frequency engagement, that would be the anchor that the two people are used to and get stuck in.
Exactly. And I'm sure you heard this many times before. I have people, well, when I go visit my family, automatically they're, they drop. Like you say, oh my God, I've dropped. And then it takes me so long to pull myself out, right?
Yeah.
It's just, I went to see my mother and now I'm furious and I can't get out of it or whatever. I'm just using that analogy. And I'm sure you've seen that many times. And that is just when anchor comes in, or the link, and then the agreement, like you said. And then it's very difficult, because I've heard people, it drains me and it takes me days to get out of it, right?
Right.
So that's the type of things we were talking about.
And what sort of thing so say that example with Christmas, so what could the person do that's different so that they don't attach themselves to that energetic agreement, the anchor point thing? So what can they do?
Yeah, the first part of it is we will work on removing those anchors, removing the agreement.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So that when they go in there, those agreements are not launched and you don't get linked again, right?
Right.
Then to give themselves the permission to be themselves. Because many people, when they grow up young, right, they establish a protocol of how I can act and what I can say and what I can do when I'm around my parents, for example.
Right.
Brother, siblings, or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
So,
or even spouse sometimes, right? Their spouse.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Their own children. Yeah.
Exactly. Or your children. So in essence is to clear up those connections, those agreements, to allow that, and then for them to be able and to give themselves their own permission, and also experience that permission for themselves in that environment. So when they walk there, now they're not automatically angst or pulled in that vibration, and they're actually allowed to be themselves. And the people that have done that, they're surprised, because in essence, when they do go for Christmas, for example, and they're no longer having all those anchors or those automatic default programs that come in and energetic shifts, that the communication, like I had a lady not that long ago, she said she never talks to her family because they don't see eye to eye. And then we did some work together, and she wrote to me afterwards. She said, unbelievable, I've never had a conversation more than 2 minutes with my family. And meanwhile, I was there for an hour and a half and we were just chatting away. And they didn't change, but somehow I felt like they did. And it was just because they changed and there was no more of that agreement, because the agreement goes both ways.
Yeah, it does,
right?
yeah.
One pulls and then the other one pulls and back and forth.
Right.
But as long as one breaks it, or cuts it off, then the other one doesn't get pulled in. That one can't pull you back in. And then all of a sudden the whole dynamics changes.
So when would you say, would you have like a view on the, you know, these individuals who have family members, for example, who are abusive, and they're just very low frequency, dark workers, or just abusive people. Where would be the limit then? You know, because if the person says, okay, so I'm going to do this work and I'm going to take my anchors out, and then they step into that situation, what would you advise someone? What would be the limit? Say if somebody comes to you and says, you know, they have this situation, and there's somebody in their family or work who's extremely abusive, who's a dark worker. So they remove the anchor points. They're not going to be their victim in anything, but that abuse continues, and the other person is not responding to any high frequency engagement, because what they're there to do is to distract and destroy. So what would be your advice on those types of situations?
Well, as long as you are clear from any anchors or anything, any emotional charges or anything like that, going from, going into victim state. So as long as you don't have that, but they're still playing that role. Now, normally, as long as you're not the victim, you don't hold that victim energy, even the victimizer role changes. However, it might not change enough to your comfort. So at that point in time, you can say, listen, if that's how you want to play, I'm not choosing to engage. And you can leave that relationship, that connection, whatever's going on. And because some people, when they're engaged in being, say, in this particular case, a victimizer, that's the role they want to play. And they feel that somehow they're of service in playing that role.
Right.
And in many cases they are, but you are not requiring that services, for example, because you're no longer playing the victim role. So in essence, there's no reason that you need to maintain that relationship, and you can walk away from it. But you're not walking away because you're afraid of it. You're not walking away because of the fact that somehow you might get harmed or anything of that nature. You're walking away because that's not the frequency I want to play with. And even if you're not entangled with them anymore, their energy is still spewing around you. So in essence, what happens is, I don't need to be there, so you choose not. In most cases, what happens, if your energy is really super clear and you're no longer engaged, they're normally the ones that don't want to play with you anymore. And they normally walk away. And that's how we lose, or lose people, right?
Yeah. I've had that happen. People just leave or freak out and go. But what if you're in a situation like Christmas, and you've done your anchors, and this other abuser person changes towards you, but then turns around to your little sister, or your little brother, or your mother, or your wife, or and attacks them, right? And they haven't done the clearing, so they get engaged as being a victim. What do you do? I mean, would you go into the savior mode, or
No. That's one of the things I've always said. You don't go into savior mode, but as the observer, you can step in. Like I can share with what I practice, because at times, when another engagement happens, I can walk in and say, well, this is a very interesting entanglement here, or this conversation here, but can you clarify for me what's going on here? And then they shift the focus towards you, trying to explain what's going on here, or something of that nature. And then, of course, you're coming in from a completely different energy, and it diffuses. I found that it diffuses immensely, and they're not targeting that other person that long. But plus, the person that's being targeted actually kind of learns or sees, oh, I can do this myself. I don't have to be entangled, right? Or, be in that fear mode, for example. So I've found that works really well. The savior mode doesn't, because in essence, you're disempowering one side and empowering the other. So the victimizer becomes more empowered, and the one that's playing the victim becomes disempowered even more. So in essence, I now need a savior. Not only am I a victim, now I need a savior, right? So in essence, that's how I've played it. And with people, I tend to say, I really don't understand what the argument is here, and or the conversation going on, or whatever is going on here. Can you explain it to me? And that already shifts the energy from one to the other. And then when you play with it, it changes completely, because they never were targeting you. They were targeting someone else, or at least they wanted to target you, but they couldn't. So they used somebody else to get to you. You know,
that happens a lot, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, the people around
Especially
you
if
get
it's a
targeted to
spouse
get
or
to you.
a close partner or something of that nature that you have a tie with. And it's like, oh, okay, then I'll target them, because that way I can affect them, you know, from a different angle.
Exactly, yeah. That happens a lot.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so there's other things, your email has a whole list of stuff.
Yes,
that you guys are gonna do. Isn't that exciting? Anyways, so if somebody does want to go to this event, how do they get a ticket? How do they go about it?
Well, we have the links for it. We're promoting it on Facebook. We have a link that takes you to the Eventbrite page.
So you have a Facebook page?
Yes, yes.
What's
We
it
have
called?
an event, an actual event, and it's on my Facebook page, on my public page and my personal page.
So they're both called Franco DeNicola, or?
Yes, yes. Okay. They're both Franco DeNicola. It's on my website also, which is francodenicola.com.
Okay, cool.
We are doing it at the Ecology Retreat Center, and it's a beautiful center. I'm sorry?
Where is it? Where's that center?
Okay. It's just north of Toronto.
So that's Canada, right?
I'm sorry?
That's Canada?
Yes, it is. Yes, thank you.
Okay.
It is near Toronto, Ontario, Canada.
Okay. And that's Canada. Okay.
That's Canada.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Right. I'm very bad with geography.
So anyways, yes, so it's in Canada. We're doing it at a retreat center. It's really a beautiful place. It's 200 acres of pristine forests and so forth. It has a very natural connection, because even where we're holding the event itself, the room is very, I wouldn't say rustic per se, but it is, right in the middle with a brook running right beside it.
Nice.
And even the accommodation and everything else is in nice, beautiful cabins and so forth. So the event itself is a full 5 days. So it starts Friday evening on the 17th of August, and it goes to the 22nd, which is the Wednesday. So we have Friday evening is when around 4 o'clock people start coming in and so forth, getting settled in their rooms and so forth. And the reason we did the 5 days, it gives time to cover topics, to experiment with it, and there's time in between. Now the property there has a pond, and it has a pool, it has nature, we have a labyrinth, but we're also going to not only give people time to integrate with one another, but also to work on themselves in nature. The other benefit is that once you're there, you don't have to worry about anything, because everything is included. So the meals are included, the stays included, all the events, everything is included, and they have the opportunity just to enjoy the whole experience. So if you catch the early bird, which is until August the 2nd, so a single bed shared room, all included is $15.95, and then there's $65.45 fees. So you're looking at $16 plus for the package.
Is that Canadian?
This is Canadian, yeah. So that'll, if somebody's coming in the States, you're basically saving 25%.
Yeah.
Right. So there's an extra benefit to that. So it's still like a bargain. That's your. You can also get private rooms. I'm not sure how many rooms are left for that, and that's $16.95 plus $67.95 for a fee, and that's again Canadian. And so that includes the meals, the accommodation, the whole retreat is all covered in there. And then there's also couples rate. If a husband and wife partner or whoever comes along, that is $3,240 plus $106 fee, and then their share a room. And that again includes both the meals, everything, snacks, you name it. Mhm.
So a couple of questions that I had about the price.
Uh-huh.
So there's different rates if you purchase it before.
Yes.
How come it's so cheap?
Well, in essence, the whole idea was to keep it as cost effective as possible so that more people can actually enjoy it. Because we've had times people say, "Oh, we would like to come, but we can't, can't spend that much money." What they're getting, you know, it's less than, it's probably 60 or 70% below its price, really.
So yeah, why do that? Are you attracting people who are in lack mode or poverty mode, or
No, not really. It was more of an idea of keeping it as affordable as possible. That was the
Yeah.
whole idea in essence. That was not the intent, and if we're doing that, then that's not what we want to do. In essence,
How many people are you expecting for the retreat? I mean, how many can you have maximum numbers there?
uh, we can have up to 60 people,
Mm-hmm.
but we'd like to keep it 40 or slightly less than that, because that way we can keep it more more intimate in a
Right.
sense.
Yeah.
We are committed to have a minimum of 23 people there
Uh-huh.
at this point in time, because that's the agreement we made with the retreat center. So
Yeah.
ideally, I would like to see 30 or slightly above that, because that feels good
Yeah,
energetically.
it
And
does. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
so that would be perfect if we can do that.
Mm.
Like I said, we made it as cost effective as possible because we were toying with that. And you're right. I mean, uh,
So, what if a
so
person doesn't need that, doesn't need something to be affordable, and they would prefer to say pay double that for a better experience?
well, the thing is, yes, I mean, that would be a different event, because right now it's been, promoted as for that price. But if they'd like to, which can be inclusive also to some one-on-one time,
Oh, there
then
you go. I like
then you,
that.
then they can offer. Now, this particular package, well, everybody will get a turn if they choose to work on something that they're dealing with
But in a group
one-on-one,
setting,
but
right?
it's in a group setting though.
Right,
But
right.
if they actually want a one-on-one with no group setting, then, that if they paid for more of that, then I would make time to work with them on a individual basis without any group involvement.
Oh,
While
brilliant.
others are out in nature, then we can sit and look at some of the things that are playing out for them.
Oh, nice. That'll be really good. Is that part of is it in the program, or is it something that you will discuss with the person when they're there, or how
No,
does
I
it
would
work?
discuss that with the person. Yeah, I would discuss it. I didn't put it into the program. We talked about it. We weren't sure if anybody was wanting to do that
Mhm.
at the time. With this particular retreat, we will have a little bit more time, because there's going to be more free time
Mhm.
involved. Because usually, you're familiar with any of my retreats, it's
It's
jam
dense.
packed, and you don't really
Yes.
get that much time. Right.
To integrate.
The other,
I know that individuals who are in the empowerment process and do want these skills, right? I'm going to just read a few of these things, right? So these
sure.
individuals, they're already not in the poverty or lack paradigm, so they don't need any special deals or affordable things. They're really like, wait, I just want to go to something that is highly effective, high quality. I want one-on-one with Franco. How do I make that happen, right? So maybe combining it, and I like the fact that you are combining it, and if they do want that extra, they can talk to you about it. So what would they expect? What
No,
can they
no.
expect?
Yeah, the thing is, a sitting at this point in time would be, an hour or so. That's for that. Um, if there's any arrangement, somebody is coming and staying a little longer than the 5-day retreat, then I could also arrange something that I would do even from my home, which,
Mhm.
I do have what we call the energy room, or the room that we do these type of so-called sessions or meetings, and then we can dedicate more one-on-one time in that environment. If the requirement is there, I would set up another type of gathering retreat with more smaller groups, because this is one of the things we were looking at, and a lot of it was your idea, was to actually have some smaller retreats at a later date.
They are amazing. The smaller retreats.
Yeah, and we would
amazing.
Would cap it around 8 or 9 people. That's it. Period. Heavy integration there, because basically we would be lots of one-on-one, lots of. We'll let retreat will have just a basic fundamental what we're going to cover. The rest of it is actually, like you said, shapes along the way. Whatever the people need that are there will be available.
Right.
And also make time for people to have longer periods of time, just one-on-one. And so that could go up to a week long if we can do it, or we can stage it in such a way. So that I find, I did one that was 9 days back in 2003. It was orchestrated by someone else. It was in the States, and there was several people there. And we did exactly that. We started early in the morning. We went to the evening. Sometimes the evenings went 2 o'clock in the morning. But the latter part of the day was just small groups. People just came in, whoever wanted to join in the group. Usually the groups were quite small. And they got a lot of one-on-one. And I did a lot of one-on-one work with them. And they found it very empowering. Now, of course, they paid considerably much more money. That even in 2003, it was $3,500 to come for the 9 days, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that's still pretty good.
It is, but that was like 15 years ago, right?
Right.
So
I have a friend who's going to a retreat workshop in Arizona for 3 days, and she's paying $10,000. So it's like, yeah. And
it's funny because,
And I find that individuals who are no longer running the LAC programs are more receptive to the tools, information, and the sessions or the processings and everything that you can give them or have with them during that session, and they implement them. And then you see the life changes and the differences in them. It's just outstanding. It's way more satisfying as well as the provider,
Absolutely. Yes, it is. It is. Absolutely.
I know, it's like
people always want to work with.
Yeah, people come to me and they say, for example, "Oh, your empowerment platform, I can't afford it." I send them the Reconnecting with Money exercise, right? Says, yeah, use this and all the free stuff on my website. And when you become empowered and step away from the poverty programs, come back. Then you'll be ready. Because that platform is not really geared for individuals who are still doing the basics, the one-on-one stuff, right? It's geared for those individuals who have become that, who have overcome it, and are now working on what's after, the further stuff. So, yeah. Right. So let me just read this list a little bit, okay?
Okay.
And then ask you a few questions about it. So, some of the things we'll be covering will include tuning into who you truly are and establishing a clear connection. Okay. So does that mean that what we talked about before, like establishing what their natural frequency is and then being in that frequency rather than something else, or does this mean something different?
No, exactly that. It's reconnecting with themselves, so their natural frequency. But the other thing is too, the connection is, because what happens, people kind of lose the connection, even though the connection is there, they sever the movement of that knowing. So you kind of forget who you are. You know, that you're much more than this body, you're much more than the mind, you're much more than your labels and reality and so forth. So when you reconnect to that, it's almost like you're going home. You're feeling that homeness in you. And also you're tapping into that energy, which becomes a very strong foundation for you, right? So
Right.
it's getting in touch with that essence, who you are. So it's exactly what you said. It's your true natural vibration, but your true knowing of who you are. So that whatever you're playing, you now are no longer looking at a perspective of your programs, your mind, your environment, or anything. You're now looking at it in a much more open platform of not knowing of who you are, and actually the resources from that.
Right. And then it says, living from your higher perspective and the expansion you will experience as a result. So what's the difference between the first point and the second? I can't see the difference. Or the
Well,
third one says, seeing yourself as a living as more than this physical experience. So these three, to me, they're kind of the
yes,
same. So what is the difference?
they are. The breakdown is because we will do various processes. Once you access that frequency, then we start to do exercises of looking at their reality, what's going on. For example, if they're having certain dynamics at home or in their life, we now look at it from that frequency.
Right. I got it. So like the Christmas example.
Yes.
Right,
Yes.
got it. And then seeing yourself as living as more than this physical experience, what would that be?
So that exercise is now looking at ourselves when we're actually living more than the body. What does actually feel to you? So the exercise, how does it feel to you? How you connect with everything around you? Because when we are not fully connected in that respect, we filter so much of what our reality or our surroundings are. We're not even present, right? We're only slightly present. So what we do is to see how, when we have at that frequency, not only what the world looks like, what you actually get from your connections, your environment, everything. It's just, so these are all just to kind of establish a new set point, a new home point for them as their, default rather than the old default. So each one has its own little processes that we go through and allow them to actually say, oh, wow, I can do this. Not only can I do this, I see things differently, right? And their eyes kind of, their inner eyes open up more. And because I've had people when we've done retreats where we go through some of these processes. And one of the reasons we're doing the 5 days, it gives more time to practice and to experience it, is that they find that the world is very different to them. And it's like, wow, I didn't even know there was all of this going on, and how it felt and how I feel much more alive, type of thing.
Right, it is true. I'm very interested in the next one. Tapping into infinite resources. What does that stand for? What does that mean?
Yes. See, when you're reconnecting with yourself, so now not only are you tapping into the consciousness of your soul, you're also connecting to what we can call soul families, but you're also now able to tap into infinite essence, which is basically source essence, source consciousness, source awareness, source even codes to how to create your reality and so forth. So in essence, you're no longer seeing it from a smaller viewpoint, even from a soul perspective only, which actually is source itself, but it has tuned itself down to be able to have that experience. But you can now tap into any sources, even experiences. Like if you want to tap into what it feels like to live in Inelia's life, from that frequency that you're in, so they can tap into how does it feel to live in that frequency, or this frequency or that frequency, but also the consciousness that you provide in there, just to be able to bring it in and integrate it in their own experience. So it really gives them a chance to, and there's no limits to that. Now, of course, you're only going to bring in what serves you, because you're not going to overwhelm yourself either until you become more attuned to play with all of this.
Right. So
it's not to burn anybody out.
So infinite resources would be like resources of information, energy, frequencies, that type of thing.
All of those, yeah. It's information, it's consciousness, awareness, and also experiences from others. Tapping into even an experience, how it feels on another planet or something like that. If you want to integrate it, like you're trying to, for example, if you're trying to create something and you're using your imagination and so forth, but now you want to really put some extra into that creation of whatever you're doing. So for example, you're doing a piece of art or something, or you're trying to design some technology or something of that nature, or coming up with an amazing meal, whatever it is, right? You now can tap into resources that are not limited to the same stuff that we've been limited on the planet. For example, even people talk about, resources of how to change how the body functions. For example, a healing process, for example. We can now tap into healing energies that have been, utilized elsewhere, or so things of that nature. Yes.
I had a friend who connects to the fourth dimension to do the healings. Oh, here's our internet connection going away. Our infinite resources of internet are not very infinite. So it doesn't mean like financial resources, for example, right? Infinite resource of income.
Well, even resources of income is a creation, so you can tap into awareness and consciousness of how you can actually create more resources. But you're not going to create resources just for the fact that I'm going to have resources to kind of feel better for myself or anything of that nature. Create resources that you're going to utilize in a way which would be highly beneficial. And
what if I want resources to buy me a Ferrari? I love Ferraris.
Well, if you love a Ferrari, that's Ferrari, but yeah, that's fine. But if you say, well, I need to have a Ferrari to feel good about myself, or to feel that, I'm worthy or something of that nature, then you're shifting the energy around that. I need to, like, if you're going to get a Ferrari because you need to look better wherever you go and people have to adore you, it's like, wow, look at, they have a Ferrari. That's a whole different energy.
I don't need that. People adore me wherever I go anyways, and they admire me completely. I don't need a Ferrari. But it's beautiful, right? It's a beautiful car, and you sit inside and it's so luxurious and it feels good. And have you heard the sound when you turn it on? The sound is amazing. It's just
I can't say I've had that experience, but yes, I appreciate it. But no, yes, there's no limits to having something that you enjoy. And I mean, this is the thing: is you want to get pleasure from whatever you're going to bring into your life, because we're not going to limit ourselves in price. Because that's one of the misunderstandings. You become aware, or you start to go into higher access of consciousness and so forth, and now it's like, oh, you demonize money, you demonize possessions and all of that stuff. The only thing that is really is that your shift of what importance you have. Like, I'd like to have a beautiful house, or I'd like to have, a retreat center or something of that nature. That doesn't become the distraction. It becomes something complementary or an enhancement of that you really want to do, or the fact that you, like for me, I would love to drive a Tesla car, an all-electric car. I mean, that would be that was something I'd like to enjoy, because of the fact it's super quiet, it's powerful, and it's not using, gas or anything of that nature. And it's just the way,
Yeah.
So there's nothing wrong with it.
We kind of balance each other out, because you'll have your Tesla, you're not using gas, right? You're not making noise or anything like that. And I've been my Ferrari using like a gallon per 2 miles and making a lot of noise. We balance each other out. And one of the things I wanted to mention is that we're talking about lack and money and stuff like that. I don't have any judgment about people who are in the lack and poverty programs. If I did, I wouldn't provide like thousands of things for free for them to get out of it. All I'm saying is, if you are in that, if you are in a lack kind of program, don't feel ostracized when I mention these things. That's your programs that make you feel ostracized. It's because it's just I prefer to work with individuals and at one-on-one who are no longer carrying those programs, because those programs are really low frequency and they pull their frequency down. Lack programs are very low frequency. And that's why I provide so many free tools for people to overcome them, because as a society, as we step out of lack and poverty programs, the whole thing just lifts, you know. I see money as the ability to do. I had recently somebody here who was running a lot of lack programs and money is evil programs. And he said, well, I'm going to ask you a question. He said that I ask all these people who want money and nobody can answer. Nobody can give me a satisfying answer. I said, if you had $500 million right now, what would you use it on? And I said, and nobody can use it. And I said, well, actually, the property, the forest farm that's behind the shaman shack at the moment, the tax evaluation of it is 300 million. And I would like to get it. So they'd probably sell it to me for 3 times that, 900 million, right? And make it into a Sasquatch sanctuary because there's Sasquatch there. And part Native American, remember Sasquatch, another theory, we know they exist. And I said, so I'm kind of short of money. May I have at least like maybe 10 billion? Might take me a few days to spend, right? And it's like, it's not about how do you spend it. It's like, what do you do? How do you create that new reality? And it's like the ability to do, right? And we are still in that. I know a lot of people, and I myself, I know that as our society grows and expands in awareness, money one day won't be necessary. The energy exchange won't be necessary because we will have all our needs and wants met by each other and for each other, right? But for now it is, right? So for now, don't go into lack, don't go into affordable, don't go into you're a bad person if you charge, because it's ability to do, right? When people pay for my stuff, guess what? I invested on people, on locations that raise the frequency of this planet. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And if that means getting a Ferrari, I will. I haven't made enough for a Ferrari. And I don't know if I would get it actually. There's so many other things I'd get before. I wouldn't have time to drive my Ferrari. Plus where I live, the roads are not very good. They're full of potholes. The Ferrari wouldn't last down the road. I'd probably get a really big 4x4 instead. But yeah, I just wanted to mention that because, you know, it's like tapping into infinite resources. That's what I was asking about that. And I thought it may have something to do with it, but obviously it's more about information, although it's not exclusively information or energies. No. You can also use it to manifest stuff like infinite monetary resources for you have to have ability to do and invest on our planet, right?
Right.
And the beautiful people in it.
Like you said, break, you know, clear out the poverty program too, because that's really just a program.
It is, yeah, it's totally a program. And I don't care if you live in Chile, Argentina, Ecuador, Canada, North America, Spain, England, France, somewhere in Africa, somewhere in India, somewhere in Asia. I don't care, right? I've lived in some of those countries and I know how resourceful people are. And I've seen people who will use the information or the fact that they live there as a poverty program excuse, and I've seen others who don't, right? Same people, same neighborhood, and some of them are living extremely well and work and think and are very, very creative, and others who just, you know, I can't feed my children, you know? And I lived that. You know, I lived with my mom living in the streets in Buenos Aires. Right? We had no food and we lived in the streets. So anybody who says that it's a limitation, I say, excuse me, but I know that it isn't. Right? So, and it's not about stepping on it over others or becoming ruthless. I've seen that too, and it's pretty nasty, you know, but that's part of that luck as well, that luck program. So anyways, let's go to the next bits in the list. Staying on track and focused as your authentic self. Is that different to the first 3, or is it?
No, it has similarities, but to set a pattern so that you stay on track no matter what's going on around you. So in essence, it's more of a practice that we will be kind of practicing on staying in that authentic self, and even role playing if necessary of something that would take you off your path of being authentic. Because there's sometimes, you say, well, I can be authentic, but when I'm doing this or when I go to work, I can't be my authentic. I have to play this role. So we practice with some role playing with being authentic self based on whatever environment around them, and see how it actually works for them.
All right. I was interested in this one. What are distractions and letting go of them? I've had a lot of experience with distractions. So tell me, what are distractions and how do you let them go? What are you going to be doing to explain these things in the retreat?
Well, yeah, that's interesting because we get distracted with a lot of things. Okay, so one of the things we find with distractions, it can be even social media and so forth, but distractions in what we feel that we need to do, because there's so many things we think we need to do, right? And then we fill the voids accordingly because somehow we feel if we do more, I could probably feel better or something of that nature, and we create a lot of distractions. Then there are people that come along that want you to do something or be part of something and so forth, and they become more distractions. Or then there's a little drama, whatever else. These things all become distraction, right?
Yeah.
So it's a matter of noticing the distractions and then shifting away from it, choosing not to participate. So there will be processes that we'll be doing around how to see the distractions as they're coming in, and then kind of select if you want to engage in it, and if you did get caught in it, how to actually go through the process of cutting off those distractions, right? And the distractions also bring in sometimes addictions, right? Because addictions are a distraction, in many, many ways, right? So it's a matter of looking at some of the addictions, because a lot of times, most of the times I should say, people get into addictions to distract themselves for not feeling good or feeling uncomfortable or whatever's happening in their scenario, right?
Yeah.
So eating food, overdosing on food or whatever it is, becomes a distraction of how they feel uncomfortable. So when you take those distractions out of the way, then you actually have to be with yourself and look at what you need to adjust within yourself accordingly, so that you're more in alignment with that direction that you want to go, with you being who you truly are, right? So we will look at the various things.
Yeah, so basically it's like a two aspects to this part. It would be finding out what it is that you truly want to do, and then separating everything that doesn't facilitate that away, and then choosing from those which ones you're going to keep. Is that it?
Yes, because in essence, like looking at really what's important that aligns with really what you want to experience and do in your life, right? Because we can get really busy and very active in doing stuff for the sake of doing stuff, because we feel that we need to do stuff, right? And really, how does it align with really what you want to do and what you really want to experience in your life, rather than, because one of the other bigger distractions that comes along is the fact of trying to earn your way through this. In a sense, is like, okay, if I take care of everybody and I take care of everything, then I can make some time for me to go do my studies or to go do my art or to go do my yoga or whatever. I got to make sure everybody's okay. The kids are in bed, the husband's okay, wife, whoever, it doesn't matter. Everybody's taken care of, right? And then it becomes a distraction. And I find myself getting caught that too, because here I want to sit down and have a...
That sounds like you know what you're talking about there.
Oh yeah, I do, absolutely. I catch myself a lot of times with that. For example, I want to do a video or something of that nature, and then I get distracted because, look, I have, several hundred emails that are waiting there, and I have text messages, and I have Facebook messages, and I have all that. I better take care of these people first because they've been waiting for a while, right? Those are all distractions. I know that, yeah, okay, I'm helping people, but then, Kimberly is very good at that, and it goes, well, okay, what did you do today? Mostly sessions, but in essence, when I have time, it's like, I just took care of about 30 messages and whatever else. And he goes, yeah, did you do what you really wanted to do? to reach the masses. Okay, you made a difference in 30 people in some cases, but you could have reached a lot more. So yeah, I know that I'm very familiar with it.
That's so funny, but it's true. Yeah, it's like when we were setting up for today's call, I was going to get up. I got up at 7 because I'm working on a course right now all about death, and I'm going to be releasing it soon. So I got up at 7 to work on it, and then we got up. We had breakfast, of course, first, and then we started having these amazing conversations. And before I knew it, it was 10:30, and I hadn't set up my desk or my laptop or the lights or nothing, you know. I hadn't even brushed my hair. So it's like, whoa, how did that happen? So we had to run through everything, do it real fast. Because, yeah, you know, if we hadn't had the appointment, we probably wouldn't have done it, you know, because there's so many other things happens, right? So distractions, I know there's like drama that can come in. I've had a lot of that, you know, like drama coming in to distract me from finishing courses, you know, writing the books and all that stuff. But also really interesting things, right? Like conversations or books, you know, like books that come in as super interesting. Oh, I've got to read that book before I finish the course. You know, so like the distractions, yeah. Let's get rid of some distractions and get some work done. So that's good then. That's really good. Where were we? Okay, so a lot of these sound similar to me. Establishing and maintaining communication with higher self while navigating the human experience, to me sounds very similar to staying on track and focus on your authentic self and seeing yourself as living as more than physical experience and living from your higher perspective and the expansion with experiences as a result and tuning into your truly are and establishing a clear connection. So, and then establishing and maintaining communication with your higher self when navigating the human experience feels the same as the other. So how is it different?
Well, the reason we have it broken down that way because each one is kind of an exercise and process, and then we actually do.
Ooh, I have a question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know you keep reminding me that each one of these has its own process. Can I buy your processes on your website that deals with each one of these things?
There will be available, yes, once we've done the event. But I need to package them and put them together so that we can do some of these processes.
Yeah. So okay, so there's an exercise for all these then, the illusion of limiting beliefs and programs and how it came about and how to release it. This feels very similar to the distractions, but the limiting beliefs actually is different because it could be things like, oh, I'm 40 years old, so now I'm not healthy, right? So now I get heart problems and blood pressure problems and that type of stuff, and you know that could be a limiting belief. So what kind of things then do you deal with individuals who come to your retreats? What kind of limiting beliefs and programs do they generally have, or is there like a pattern?
What I've noticed a lot of their limit beliefs is that they actually are not in control of their life and that they can't, change from their basic circumstances. And the other one that's very popular is the fact that and it's part of not having control, is that they can't really change their life because all of a sudden the people in their lives and the commitments they made and whatever else actually now dictates what they can or cannot do and step out of that. So those are the things. And the other thing is the limiting of even changing themselves and actually, like you said, change from a limited belief of feeling that, I'm stuck and I'm getting too old or I'm getting weak or that the fact it's too late. I hear that one a lot from people that like it's too late for me now, type of thing. And, one of the things I remind them, I said, it's never too late, first of all, but the thing is, look at the wisdom you have now. And even you even have more time, especially if they're retired or something like that. No, it's too late for me. No, this is just the beginning. I mean, And of course, the limited belief that I'm going to age. I only have a few more days or years or left in my life, right? I've heard that many times. It's like, oh, it's too late for me. It's okay for the young people and whatever else, right?
Right. Yeah.
So those are some of the limiting beliefs. Or the other limiting belief is the fact that they can actually change their life and take a whole different direction in their life. Change their
Yes.
career, change their relationship, change, let go of their attachments to their kids or to people or family or wherever. Those are all limiting beliefs, and a lot of them feel that, they don't really have a choice, and or the limited belief that I'm responsible for everybody or
Oh
something.
gosh, that's a big one. Yeah.
It is.
That's a
It's
big
huge.
one. Yeah.
So those are some of the ones that come in, and that they can't do things, like,
Yeah.
can't do it. I'm not good enough or worthy enough or whatever. There's
I'm
lots of
not
stories that come
worthy.
up around.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that one's a good one. That's a huge one. I love playing with that one with people because, it's like worthy. Where's that come from? I mean,
I
from
know.
the higher perspective, there's no such thing. There is no such thing. It's all made up.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. That's cool. Um, okay, understanding and experience the whole of who you are. So, what's the process there?
Well, that process is actually interesting. Is tapping into the experience of more than the body. It's where you actually tap into your higher self and go in that. It's like a similar, I wouldn't say similar, but a similar process where you actually tune into, you used to call it home frequency, I think you called it, and the home planet or stuff like that. But this goes into your source essence. So it's more of a process
Mm,
to connect themselves to their source essence and to
yeah,
be in that essence, to kind of
right,
experience themselves in that essence for a little while.
right. Oh, I love that one. Yeah, I understand it now. Okay. Um,
And you know something? If
mm.
you do the exercise, I've done this before, you have them come in the exercise with a problem, the biggest problem they have going right at that moment, and bring the problem with them, and then we go through that process. It dissolves. Like
Wow,
amazing.
that gives me
Wow.
goosebumps. That gives me goosebumps.
So yeah, there's a
Yeah,
lot of beautiful exercises.
yeah.
Definitely powerful.
That's really cool. I love it. I look at your involvement in creating your personal reality. That's like a 101 thing, isn't it? Like a really basic tenet of personal empowerment and growth, isn't it?
Yes, I mean, a lot of people don't realize that how involved they are in creating, co-creating, and maintaining their
Everything.
current reality.
Yes.
Everything around.
You know, that is a topic I like to talk about too in my talks because people, I call it conscious manifestation now, that when people say, I'd like to manifest, blah, blah, blah. And how do I manifest? He says, well, just look at your life because all of everything you experience is your manifestation, but most of it is done through programs or unconsciously or whatever, So yeah, that's one of my favorites topics to look at. And you have, is this like information or do you have a process for this too, or how does this work?
Which one's that?
I look at your involvement in creating your personal reality.
Yeah, that process we actually look at. I take them through looking at their life and
Okay.
seeing, for example, if they have a particular situation in their life or a particular how can I say, reality that they feel, I can't change this. This is what it is, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So we go through that little process and see how it. Like sometimes people say, I want to change, but I don't know how to change it, or like it's
I've
not
tried
my doing.
everything.
Yeah, exactly. So then we go through the process of looking at how much power they give it to it, the
Right,
importance of it, how they act, respond, how they hold their energy to keep that alive,
right.
and to make that, a reality that can't be shifted. And that's
Mm,
even an idea. It's not even
mm.
real.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Oh, I like that. Okay. Where are we? Is it? Yeah. Choosing the life you desire.
Mm-hmm. So much to say about that one, but anyways, yeah, that process is actually letting them reflect on it and share some things with them, and then actually document it. So they'll do an exercise to actually design, because most people don't know what their life, they want the life different, but they don't know what it's even going to look like. They don't even know what they want. This is the fun part. It's like, if you had to change it, what would you, and they start sometimes with just the basic, and they say, okay, for example, somebody says, well, I would love to have this in my life, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would love to have this relationship or whatever it is. Okay, great. And then we go through that little step for them to see themselves bringing that in and see how much they actually resonate with it, or what the motive behind it is.
Right.
Because then they find what's really behind it, and it's like, oh, that's not really what I wanted. I wanted something else. I just want to have some people that I can talk to or something else. I don't want to carry other stuff with it, or something like that. So it's a bit of a play with that.
And I guess it's like, again, conscious choosing, right? Because we make choices all the time. So
yes. It's conscious choosing, and it's not reactive choice either.
Right.
You're reacting,
yes,
and
and program.
I got to do that. Yes.
And the next one is really interesting. Are you always in charge?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what do you mean by that? What does that question mean?
Well, yeah. So the question it goes around the fact that people don't feel that they're the master of their own reality. Okay. And that in fact they can change any part of it, so that they're actually in charge of making up any rules and letting go of rules and stuff like that. Even if you adopt rules, you're still in charge of changing it.
Of course,
or even if you accept it or don't accept it, what level you accept it. It's basically showing how much you actually have the capacity to shift and mold any part of it, and what you want to play with and not play with, and what you want to engage with and you don't want to engage with.
Right.
So in fact, the question is, how in charge are you? Because when I ask that question, a lot of people say their automatic response is, no, I don't have that much say in the matter, or something of that nature, right? But then, you know what the trick here, Inelia, and I'm sure you ran into this many times, when it comes to sometimes when you're asking what does in charge mean to them, is that they want to change people. They want to change people around them, right?
No way. Are you serious?
Yes. I'm not in charge of how my husband treats me, or my wife treats me, or my girlfriend treats me, or my kids treat me, any of that nature, right? And they see it that, oh, I have no say in that matter. They're just being such and such, right?
Wow.
So it's coming to that realization. First of all, you are, to a certain degree. The other part of it, it's not your responsibility to take charge of their life, but how they react with you have full charge.
Yeah.
You are fully in control of how they react with you and respond to you.
Right. Wow. Controlling other people or changing them, probably. Oh, that change thing. We talked about change before, and there was something I wanted to talk to you about that. I found, I don't know if you've seen this, but especially when people get together, like in a couple, that changing is like a crime, right? It's like, oh, she's trying to change me, what? Or he's trying to change me. And it's like a crime that they mustn't change at all, right? They have to completely be what they were before in their previous relationship, or while they were single, they had to continue. And it's like, whoa, when you enter into a relationship, you're now already different. You may live somewhere else. You're living with somebody else. You have different culture, upbringing from different families, habits and things, and you mold into each other, and that requires change. So it's like, take away the demonization of change, right? Of ourselves, because we're the ones that are changing. If you're compassionate and kind, you want to change to be able to mold yourself into living in this new relationship and its new dynamic, right?
Yeah.
but I found that people is like, whoa, I don't want, why did I have to change? Have you found that too? Have you seen that?
Yes, I have. And the thing is, sometimes the people believe that I can't be myself, right?
Yeah.
But the point is to really look at, are you actually, even in the past relationships or whatever have you been yourself in any of those?
Right. Or when you met and you got together, were you being your genuine self?
That's the
Right.
thing, right? So
Yeah.
in essence, if somebody's reflecting, like you have a new partner and they're reflecting certain things that push your buttons or whatever it is, showing certain parts of you, then instead of putting a wall up, no, I don't want to change. It's like, okay, what can I take from this to see how I may mold myself to be more in alignment rather than still stay in my stuck way, or, still play the same game that I've had with 2 other relationships or 10 other relationships or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
So in fact, to be open to shape and to change is actually very good, because that's what the relationship is. Because really, we come into relationships to kind of not only discover ourselves a little more, but also to
Change
kind of
our lives.
change our lives, change how we actually interact and so forth, right?
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
the thing. So
Yeah.
when you understand that, it's a completely different game.
Yeah. Yeah, it's cool. Anyways, a little difference there that I remember from I wanted to ask if you'd seen it before too.
Yes,
Um,
I have.
okay, are you creating an alignment with your soul higher self? How is that different? Is that like a different process to the one we looked before?
Yeah, well, the thing is, we fragment ourselves, and we have a soul's perspective of what our life looks like.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have the mind's perspective, per se, or ego perspective. And then
Mm-hmm.
we have the perspective that we see around us, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in essence, the process is to align all of that so that you actually have all of it working together. You're not creating that conflict within. You're not creating a conflict with your surroundings either, or other playmates that you play with, right?
Right.
So in essence is, because look at, you probably realize and have noticed that people are dealing with a lot of conflict with themselves right now.
Oh yeah.
Because their higher self wants to evolve, higher self wants to advance, higher self wants to actually step into more of what it decided, what it came here to do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The other part is the ego mind and all the other programs that we have that actually are playing a whole different tune, and
Mm-hmm.
still wants to be accepted, loved. I want to play this game. I need to play this role, that role, that role. I can't, this is
Everybody has to feel that I'm a wonderful, beautiful person and they need
exactly,
to love me.
exactly. So you have this fragmentation, and then the body's caught in between, because the body gets
Right.
information. The body is actually a reflection of how you think and what the energies that you carry through
Plus,
from.
yeah, but
Yes,
also your body also has goals and achievements that they want to have in this lifetime, right?
exactly.
And we have to
Exactly.
align
So
with
that's
that one too. Yeah.
right. And a lot of times we deny so for example, you get to this idea that going out drinking and eating all this stuff and whatever it is fun, right? To the point you black out, for example, right?
I've seen
Body's
that
going,
happen.
and your body's going, wait a
What
minute here,
the
what are you doing all this for? What the heck? It's like I can't deal with this. You're destroying my organs, and I'm trying to stay functional here, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And then your higher self said, we don't need any of this stuff here. That's be involved. Because the one thing people don't understand, and I'd like to make clear, and more people are understanding, is the fact that our higher self is not against us. I don't know if you've heard that before, where they say, well, it doesn't understand the human experience. It doesn't even appreciate the human experience. It's absolutely contradictory, because it's not. The higher self actually appreciates the human experience immensely, but it also wants the human experience to advance.
Right.
And to be part of that human advancement. That's why it came into a human body. It could have gone into any other body. It didn't have to be on this planet. It didn't have to be on this galaxy or universe, right?
Right,
The soul
right.
has that freedom to choose, right? But it came here for a very specific reason. So it's not coming here, I'm sure you heard it from people, "Oh, I don't want to live here. I don't want to be here." Yeah,
Oh
okay, I've
gosh,
said it.
tons,
No,
yeah.
I've said it myself,
Yes.
okay? So, um, but that's not your higher self saying that. That's your ego mind's idea. You know, that's the thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I had that program running years ago too. It's like, oh my gosh, when is it going to end? Get me out of here, you know?
Let's get this job done.
Yeah. I found, the higher self is totally in tune. But I found that sometimes members of our collective entourage, like Gaia or different entities that we might feel like our T families, you know, if an individual has a soul connection with the Pleiadians or whatever, that often those collectives or those entities do not have a real grasp of the human experience.
Yes.
And sometimes they will ask for or make demands that are really not good for the person, you know, not maliciously, but they just don't understand, you know, they don't quite grasp what it feels like or what you have to do when you're here, like you have to sleep, you know. So no, working 24/7 is not an option.
Yes,
Right?
and that I'm totally familiar with, because that's the requests are always coming from your brother, sister souls from other dimensions, and they don't realize how it is to live in a body too, and you know what it requires.
Yeah,
you know, so it's
true.
like you said, 24/7, nonstop. You know, it's like, why stop? You know, body, mind, everything needs time to reset and recharge, right?
And that's partly our fault,
and you got to
because
give it time.
yeah, sometimes we don't explain that. I learned after a few years that, wait, okay, so if Gaia wants me to go to XYZ place to do XYZ, then I need the resources, right? And I need support. I need a physical entourage to help me do this. So I started saying, okay, I'll do it if this, and this happens, right? I need all my costs covered and some extra for treats. And I need my children looked after, and I need somebody to carry my bags. And it would happen. And so, wait, so life could have been like that all the time? And it's just insane. But yeah, unless you tell them, how are they going to know, right?
Well, yes, definitely. I haven't been as diligent in doing those agreements like you have learned, because I tend to take even the short end of, you know, you only get bits and pieces, you don't get the whole thing, and then you still go ahead and do it, right?
Right.
So now it's like, okay, you meet these requirements, then I go, or else I don't go.
Yeah. All right, let's carry on with the list. What stops you from choosing from a higher perspective? So what stops us from choosing from a higher perspective? What does that mean? What does that mean?
Obligations, big word right there.
Duty. Duty?
It's huge. Duty,
Cool.
obligation, you got it. You got it.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
How many times have you seen people, and we've done it all ourselves, hold ourselves back until, you know, the kids have grown up, or this has happened, or that's been taken care of, whatever. Even when I had this request to do this work, like I've been doing this work for over 35 years, but I have not been doing it full time. Okay.
Right.
The full time started only in 2005.
Okay.
Okay. So, but even then, my sense of duty, because I had a young family, I had a wife, and I had a house and responsibilities and so forth. And it's like, no, I got to work, being the engineer, because that gives me the resources, financial resources. And then this, when I have spare time, I'll do it sometimes in the evening, sometimes in the weekend, whatever. Yeah. And, it was this sense of duty to family. And also I had to take care of my siblings, because in essence, they seem to be less efficient in creating their own resources. So I had them on my shoulder. And then I had to take care of my elderly parents and so forth. And there was all this sense of duty and obligation and so forth. And it's like putting aside everything, right? Or doing only a small amount for it, right? So that becomes a huge obstacle.
Yeah, it totally
so we get to play with that too.
Yeah, oh sweet. That's gonna be fun. Mm, where are we? Why we stay in a holding pattern of recreating and reliving the same experiences. So why do we stay in those holding patterns? I think it's familiar.
Well,
I found a lot of people would rather stay in a familiar negative experience than venture out on a new experience that could be positive. It's almost like this comforting familiarity, even if it's really unpleasant.
yeah, and the big word that comes in, uh, it's safety. It's like, this may not be as safe, but it's safe because I know how
I know it.
familiarity.
Right. I
That's
know
right.
yeah, I know how to function in this. Is this a
And
relationship?
yes, yes. So it would play with that. Some of the reasons that we've applied to ourselves
Mm,
to stay in our pattern, to
right.
stay in doing the familiar all the time,
Yeah.
and actually go a little process to kind of make a commitment to break that pattern, so that you actually go to the unknown. Because realistically, our true nature loves the unknown, loves to
Oh
create from,
gosh.
yeah. And
Yes.
but the other part of us, the ego planet, said, no, I only go with what I know and what I've seen others do, and I'm not going to go any further than that because it's
Yeah.
out of my.
And the physical body too. The physical body does not like change at all. Physical bodies
That's true.
do not like change. They just
No,
don't.
exactly.
Yeah. So making the physical body comfortable sometimes, or taking steps, bringing even you want to take an art class and you're really scared because you haven't drawn since you were 3, and you're going to be worse than everybody else, and you're not worthy, and all these things. You can overcome all those, but even taking your physical body and putting it among a lot of strangers and then start drawing and following instructions, that could be really stressful. That might be the actual bit that stops you. So bringing, asking your physical body, what is your favorite drink? Oh, I really like milk chocolate, or a strawberry smoothie, strawberry banana smoothie. I really love that. Okay, I'm gonna make this drink and I'm gonna put it in a flask and I'm gonna take it with me so you can have comfort while we have the class. It's amazing. I don't know if you've ever tried it, but just taking the physical body, bringing that comfort bit, to the physical body, or even a pillow. I don't know, those chairs, they're going to be hard chairs. I don't like sitting in hard chairs for 4 hours. Okay, I'm going to bring a pillow. How does that feel? Oh, that feels much better. I don't know if you were little,
Yeah, that,
if you had a blankie when you were little. Did you have a blankie?
um, no, I can't say I have. No,
No, you
I
didn't?
didn't. But there were certain things that I felt comfortable with, so that. But I didn't carry a blanket. I can't remember now. My childhood, what if there was anything that I.
Maybe a favorite t-shirt or a favorite sweater.
Yes, yes, there was, some. I had, yeah, I'm still do it today. Okay, I have some sweaters that are like Kimberly laughs at me sometimes because there's one sweater I like. It's a beige sweater. It's got stains on it. It's got some holes in it now, and this thing is like 20 odd years old, right?
Yeah.
But it just feels good wearing it.
Yeah.
I don't go out in public so much in it. Like if I had to go to because it doesn't look, it
You
looks a
have
little
to bring it. You have to wear it for this event. Totally.
tattered, but anyways, yeah, it's you have it. And there are certain outfits that I've had, or shirts and pants, and Kimberly's patched them so many times, it's like there's no more fabric left, it's just going to disintegrate here, and then you have to give it up. But yeah, no, I've done that. No blankies, but I've done those things, yes.
Yeah, yeah. I find that those though, they comfort the body so much,
Hmm.
you know? So yeah, it's really good to take that into consideration, I think. Yeah. I don't know what we were talking about. All right, where were we? How do we break free from them? Oh, the holding patterns. And then how do
Yeah,
we
the whole.
break free of them is the next one, right? So you have a pattern, and then how do you break free from that one? Is that a process
Okay.
that you do?
Yeah, that'll be a process. Yeah.
Okay.
So not only we talk about it at first, and then we actually do the process of breaking those patterns.
Brilliant. I love it.
Yeah.
So the next one is one of my favorites. I talk about this a lot too. What shaped us and what part did we have in it? I'm always telling people, drop your stories, right? I had people come to me and say, hey, I'm like that because my dad did this and the other, and my dad this and my dad that, and my dad the other. And I said, okay, your dad did 10,000 things, right? 10,000 things. And the ones that you're talking to me about is the ones that you chose to integrate into yourself. And you ignored the other 9,097, right? You ignored 9,997 of them. You ignored, but these are the ones that you took. So it's not about what your father did or said or taught you. It's about what you chose to take with you for the rest of your life, because you got a lot more than those 3 things, right? Or 10 things or
Yeah.
100 things.
Yes.
So is that what, would that be similar to what you're teaching here?
Yeah. You're talking about the whose life we're living. Is that what you're
No,
saying?
it's what shaped us and what part did we have in it?
Right. 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 Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
No, that's exactly it's that. And you're right. It's depending on how much we adopted, what part of it adopted, and it's not only that. It's also even the multiple things we've been exposed to in our growing up and being in school and the media and everything else,
Yeah.
right? All of it ends up shaping us, and how much of it we had part in choosing to take those on as part of our reality and part of
Like
our way of.
100% we chose.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, and we have
And
100%
then,
choice of releasing it, right? Dropping it.
yeah, exactly. And then really just have them tune into and reflect how much of it they actually, because a lot of people don't realize how much they've actually taken on. Believe it or not, because, when I actually do processes with people, when I'm doing a session and so forth, we look at a lot of different things that they, shape their lives and why they make certain decisions or feel a certain way. So in essence, when we start looking at it, sometimes they're shocked at, wow, I didn't realize how much that actually influenced my life and how much I've actually adopted it. And I've had people say, oh my God, I'm so much like my father or my mother. I had one lady, she couldn't believe it because she hated her mother, right?
They're like, oh, I'm just like my mother.
Exactly. And it's like, oh my God, I don't know what to deal with this,
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really first coming to the realization, and then there's an empowering process where they can actually start dropping all of them, and
Sweet.
actually they can still choose what they want to keep, but
Of
because there's
course.
sometimes you get something that's really beneficial.
Good. Yeah,
Yeah, it's not
totally.
like you drop everything.
No, that's really good. This one interests me because I don't quite understand it. It says, whose life are we living? If we shift it, what does it mean to ourselves and others? What do you mean by whose life are we living?
When we look at our life and when we're living a certain way, are we actually living our own life of our own design, or are we mimicking other people's lives? Are we living under other people's rules? Like, for example, if you were brought up a certain culture and you were brought up under certain beliefs and certain rules, and you start to live that life under those, whose life are you living? Are you living truly your life, or are you living a replicated life from your family, from your parents, lineage, or anything of that nature, or your culture, or your whatever, right? So the question is, whose life are you living? Are you living truly your life? Are you shaping your life based on what you really want to experience and learn and so forth? Or are you living a life that you have adopted from these parts of life or reality, being religion, being culture, being parents' upbringing, being your education, being your work environment, and so forth. So that shocks people. Believe it or not, when you ask them whose life you're living, what do you mean? Like, are you living your life? Are you shaping fully your life without taking in all the other parts from everybody?
So this one is related to the duty one then.
In a way, but the thing is, duty is a sense of responsibility. So you actually mold your life around duty. This one is, what life are you replicating? What parts of your life are you replicating? Because some people really become another clone of somebody else or a group of somebody else's.
Okay, got it.
They clone themselves, right? They
Yeah, I've seen
become
that. I've
like
seen
that,
that. Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've seen that. Okay,
So
cool.
that's when the question is, and a lot of people
Just
sit
like,
back and go, what do you mean I'm living my life? And I go, okay, how much of your life are you actually living, and whose life are you truly living? Because if you're living, and then they realize, oh, I'm living this life or that life, and it's not really, because especially when you ask them, if you had a choice, what part of your life would you look at, and shift, right?
right, right.
And it's amazing, it's like, well, I do this, but I don't really enjoy it, and I don't really, it's not me, but this is expected of me, or this is my, my upbringing. I love when people say, well, this is who I am. This is how, I'm from this. And I go, really? Is that who you are, or is what you
Yeah,
adopted as an idea of who you are?
yeah,
Realistically, because every time you put a label on yourself, this is who I am, you make your life smaller because you put yourself in a box. And each time
right.
you put a new set of rules and a new definition, you get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller.
Yeah,
And then your life is not that expansive, fluid, playfulness, creative. It's not, because you dare get out of the box because,
right.
or another, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I thought it might perhaps be related to, how sometimes parents, they will, they have a gifted child, for example. Let's say they play the violin or they play football, and then suddenly going to practice and study, well, let's say violin. So going to the class and practicing violin every day and going to do the recitals and having a second teacher, maybe a third, and then a practice group. And the parent are musicians themselves, but they were never really very successful. And then this child is gifted, so they're living through the child, right? And they live in the child's life. I thought it was related to that. So it's not
Well,
related.
yeah, that's no, that has an excellent point, because in fact, a lot of times that's what happens, is that we're living under somebody else's expectation. I saw that with my daughter and my ex-wife at the time, because my ex-wife wanted to learn how to play the piano, like to do all of this stuff, but she wasn't very good at it. And then, of course, when my daughter came along, it's like, oh, okay, now you need to learn how to play the piano. It's almost like somebody else was trying to accomplish what they haven't accomplished through one of their kids, right? And
Right.
then the kids now adopting this whole idea, I can learn how to play the piano, whatever it is. Because I asked that question, because my daughter didn't want to learn, really.
Oh my
But she did.
gosh.
She still went. She went
Okay.
for a while. And I asked her one day, I said, why are you playing the piano? Because mommy wants me to play, right?
Oh.
And I said, you really want to play? And she goes, no, I don't want to play. It's not my thing. I like to dance instead, right? She wanted to dance, right?
Yeah.
So then I went to my ex-wife at the time and I asked her, I said, why do you want her to play the piano? Well, yeah, because by the time I asked her deeper and deeper, it's like, well, because I never got to play, or I never was any good at it, and I wanted to have my daughter be good at it because I wasn't good at it. And I go, well, then why are you impressing your life onto her? Because you have to ask her what she wants to do, and she doesn't want to play the piano. She wants to dance, so let her go dance. Forget about this piano thing, right? So in essence, for a while, and my son went through a little bit of that too, when he was doing certain things, and I go, why are you doing this? Well, because if I don't, mom is going to get upset. Like, no, who cares what, you need to decide what you want to do. Forget about what mom wants you to do.
Yeah.
You have to
So,
live your life.
so it kind of related, because then the children would be living their mom's life, right? In your case. So whose life are you living, right? So they're living their mom's life and her desires and hopes and dreams. But at the same time, the mom was living her dreams and desires through the child. So neither of them were really being quite genuine, right? Neither of them was living their life.
Correct.
Yeah. I guess it
That's
needs
right.
that dynamic too,
Exactly.
huh? Yeah. I had a little bit of that when I was little. I used to be a really talented musician, and when I was really small, like 5 or 6, I wanted to learn the piano and lots of other instruments that I could get my hands on. And my parents decided that my brother and sister were going to learn instruments, but because I was so graceful and so pretty, I was going to learn dance, right? So they put me into ballet lessons, and by hell, I had to learn to dance, right? To dance ballet. I was a ballerina until I was about 17. And then I was gifted, and, but I really didn't have that much of an interest in it. I mean, I loved it. I did. I learned to love it. And then, I mean, through thick and thin, I mean, obviously, when we're living in the streets, I couldn't go to ballet lessons, but everything, every other time I did. And I got offered a place in the Royal Academy of Ballet in London. And I looked at that and I thought, that's the moment that I said, you know what? I'm not going to do this anymore. And it was like one of those wow moments, because it's like, whoa, this is a big career decision. It's like, it's going to take probably another 10 or 15 years out of my life, right? Full time, because they're intense. So I didn't. But at the same time, I was also playing the guitar, right, by then. And I was, again, super gifted. And that I became obsessed with. And I would play several hours before school, after school, in the evening. I would be playing music all the time. And again, I was gifted. And my teacher, he was a Spanish person, and he started living through me, right? So he was going to guide me through the entire music world, and I was going to be a soloist, which is a big deal in Spain, huge. I didn't even live in Spain at the time. I lived in England. And then I had a motorbike accident when I was 18, and I destroyed my hand, and I couldn't play the guitar anymore. And he had a nervous breakdown. My teacher. Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah. And I was like, what else? What else is there to do? It was over for me. But for him, it was like, oh, it was a total. He ended up in a hospital because of it. So yeah, I can see that happening. How that can happen. Those are extreme cases, obviously, but yeah, I
Yeah,
was not a
sometimes you end up
ballerina.
living the life of a coach or life of somebody else, like you were just describing.
Yeah.
And the thing is that, even with my daughter's example, when she got not that she needed my permission, but when I reminded her that it was up to her to do whatever she wanted to do, she went into dance, and
Mm.
she still dances today. In fact, she's won several awards the last several years, and this year she still came #1 in North America in jazz and so forth with her partner. It's like
Oh my
she's
gosh, that's awesome.
tremendous amounts of awards and so forth, because and she does it because she loves it,
Right.
and so here she is, many years later, and even with a child, she still goes out and does the dance. She teaches dance too, so she teaches dance at a dance studio, and
Wow.
and then she also dances for competition. So
That's amazing. Yeah, and what can happen when you actually follow what you really want to do, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
I don't think she would have been, an amazing pianist, because her heart wasn't in it. It wasn't her
Right,
thing. She
right.
really wanted to move. She wanted to dance. She wanted to be
Mhm.
very choreographically expressive in that way. So
Yeah, it is beautiful. I have to admit, it is beautiful. Yeah. All right. Um, okay, so this is temporal related to being really honest with yourself about your desires. Is it your desire, someone else's, or the collective adoption? So yeah,
yeah,
it's kind of related, right?
it is related. Yes.
Yeah. And then living less in your mind and more in your heart, soul, higher self. This is the entire thing, I think, right? This entire retreat is about getting out of your head, in my mind,
Yeah.
and out of your mind and into your heart, soul, and higher self. That's how I feel. That's what, every time I felt the energy weaved into this retreat, this is what excited me about it. It's really, really cool. I'm really glad, happy. Thank you for making this accessible to people. It's really cool.
Well, yes, and the request has been coming for a while because people say, well, we need more time. We need more time to practice, to integrate, and so forth. And it really felt that the time it was now to do it. And so it's out there, and and it's realistically, it's for the people that feel drawn to it and feel that they really want to reset their life and change and redirect it, because it's a very transformative.
Oh, great, right? If they've already done those changes, maybe a few tools to help them on the way, right?
Fine tune it.
Yeah, fine tune it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Because fine tuning, when you have somebody to guide you, it's really awesome. I find really, really good to have somebody there to fine tune the skills or the knowledge that you already have. Yeah.
There's the fine tuning, there's confirmation, there's also different processes that actually they haven't tried that help them actually be able to manage through it a little easier, being themselves or whatever. So yeah, and then you get to connect with nature, you get to connect with other people, like-minded people, because the people that are coming are all doing the same thing,
Yeah.
And then that's one of the things that's great about retreats and that type of gathering, because everybody supports each other, and they spend one-on-one time with each other to kind of look at some of their challenges and so forth. And I find when they do, then they come back into the environment where we're actually in the teach mode or process mode. We can bring some of their observation and then play with them, right?
Yeah.
And so it's, and the other part of it is you leave your regular reality and you're going into a completely different energy, a different reality. So in fact, it gives you an opportunity to step back from what your stuck state or your pattern state and so forth that you live in your own home. Because a lot of times that's what people look for, and that's why they come to even your retreat. It's just to get away from their regular routine.
I think it's important.
Yeah.
That's what we call it, retreat. You retreat away from the battle of your life or whatever. Yeah. And then you have that completely different perspective. Even the frequency is different.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's important. Yeah. Okay, so relationship with yourself. How important is it to nurture it? A relationship with yourself. What does that mean, having a relationship with yourself?
Well, people know about having a relationship with other people, and we have relationships with people, but nobody really looks at the relationship that they have with themselves.
But what does that mean?
Well, how you actually feel about yourself, how you judge yourself, how you compare yourself, how you actually, felt about your life, and how you even communicate with yourself. See this a lot.
I got it. Yes, I understand now. Often I will say, when people say, oh, I couldn't go swimming because I don't have the time. And I'd say, okay, so if you had a puppy dog, would you not take him for a walk because you didn't have the time? They go, oh my gosh, no, I would never do that. I would totally take my puppy dog for a walk every day. Well, treat yourself like you would treat your puppy dog.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? That's it, right?
Walk, right? And
yeah.
And it's a relationship basically with your mind, your soul, and your body, right? And be able to actually communicate with it, and then provide, kind of work where everything is working in a sense where everything is being taken care of, for example.
That's nice, yeah.
Yeah, and it's also how we look at ourselves too. How many people look in the mirror and then they're, feel, judge themselves and so forth, or whatever it is, right? That's still a relationship. Like, for example, just the example of like you just gave, but let's switch it around a little bit. Look at it this way. Some of the things you say to yourself.
I'm wonderful. I'm so pretty.
Yes, you may say that, but a lot of people don't say that. And would you say it to someone else?
Yes.
Would you go say it to some significant other? Like, for example, you look at yourself and you say, oh man, I'm fat, I'm ugly, I'm this or that.
Oh, I don't say that.
yes, but I'm just saying a lot of people say that to themselves,
Oh,
but they
okay.
won't go say it to somebody else, right?
Yeah.
So why would you maintain a relationship that's very different with somebody else where you would respect it, respect
Mm,
that person, be able to treat that person a little better, but then when you have to treat yourself, when you have to respect yourself, you don't.
right,
You're
right.
critical, judgmental about it. You say some nasty things about yourself, you know?
Yeah,
How
I've
many
met people like that. Yeah, I have.
Yeah,
Yeah.
how many times have people go, I'm so stupid. I mean, just an
Yes.
idiot, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
And like
Yeah.
that type of relationship we're talking about.
Yeah. When people say things like that, I'll turn around and say, "Don't say that. That's very unkind." And they go, "What?" But
Yeah.
yeah, I have seen it. Yeah, I've seen it with people, and normally they don't have happy lives. People
Well,
who
it's
do
hard
that
to
a
have
lot.
a happy life if you feel that way and you treat
Yeah,
yourself that way. How could you
yeah,
have a happy life?
yeah.
It's really
It's
difficult.
it's super unkind. Yeah, it's not kind at all. Anyways, yeah, I get it now. Um, okay, good. Nurturing is to take care of yourself, treat yourself with kindness, and say nice things about yourself, and that type of thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the thing is, you're not going to lie yourself either. You're not going
No.
to
If
say,
I got Yeah, if I wake up with had bad hair day, I go, oh, I have a bad hair day, and I put a cap on, right? So this is my bad hair day cap. Now I look pretty, So you take care of it. I mean,
yeah,
I'm not lying. My hair was terrible, right? But I'm not like, you know, oh my God, I can't go out. My hair's bad, or get defeated about it. I just put in a cap, and it's like that's my bad hair day cap.
exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, I like that. Okay. Shifting from a small life to an expansive life. Shifting from a small life to an expansive life. So we need definitions then. What is a small life and what is an expansive life for that one?
Hmm. That's a good one. The when we're looking at a small life is basically the life that we've kind of made ourselves, put ourselves, like I was saying earlier, in boxes. Okay, this is all
Okay, got it.
I can't do further. I can't play with this and so forth because I'm expected to play this as a small first part. And also playing a safe life is a small life too, right? And saying, well, this is not, oh, I can't venture out here. For example, some people, when I'm talking to them, I say, what would you love to do? Well, I really like to do, I would like to go and trek, this part of the world, or, I'd like to, take a new skill, a new craft, like I want to get into art, I wanted to get into dance and so forth, right? But then they come up with all these excuses why not.
Mm,
Okay, well, I got all these obligations, I got all this stuff going on and so forth. And so they actually they make their life really small. And
mm,
then it's like, I live, this is my life. I go to work, I do this, I do that, I play this role, that role, and that's it. And then they mold their life to stay within that frame, right?
mm.
So that's what's considered a small life.
Okay,
Then
got it.
an expansive life would be stepping out of that, really following your desires and following what you really want to experience in your life, right?
Mm,
So
yeah,
there will be a process of them feeling that small life that they've created,
yeah,
and then what one that's expansive will feel like,
right,
and have them feel the two differences, feel the differences between the two.
right.
And then they make a choice and a commitment to themselves which one they want to live.
Yeah, and funnily enough, it's not always the expensive one, right? But at least they're choosing consciously to keep the small one.
I have not yet anyone that ever said they want to keep it
I have,
the same.
I have, I've had
They
that.
they will still interject something extra to it.
Okay.
So it still might be small.
Right.
So the box may not be this big. It might just be a
Massive.
little bit bigger.
Okay,
That's
bigger.
all.
Yeah, yeah,
It won't be
right.
totally like knock the walls down and let's go and do whatever, right?
Right.
So everybody experiences some opening of some sort, even if it's a small amount, they do.
Nice.
That's what I think.
Yeah. I've had situations, I used to do oneness sessions many, many years ago. I don't do them anymore. And I found many, many times, except for two people, most of the individuals reached a certain level towards being oneness. And they said, okay, stop. We're going to stop here because I don't want to go past this experience. This is it. I don't want to go into oneness anymore. You know? So yeah, I suppose they would have expanded it to that other level, but they wouldn't want all the way. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, you would have done that. And if they actually didn't open up anything, then of course, I mean, they took a look at it, but that's about it. But I've
Right.
yet to find anybody that stays exactly to the same limits. They expand the limits, but the limits are there, but they still expanded it.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, because if we're talking about individuals who are coming to do this, then they already have the intention and the intent to grow, right? So obviously they're not going to stay there. When I say that people stay in the same little box, would be people who are not actually investing time and money and effort and work to do this work. So yeah. They do expand to certain degrees and yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, so a time to view personal challenges, bringing in your higher self-awareness to guide you to a higher perspective. It will be a guided process. That is one of the guided meditations that you do.
That is, trying to think which one that was, because I have two different ones there. Oh, okay. So what we would do is, if individuals at this point in time wanted to look at some challenge in their life, then they would have the opportunity to play with it with me in the group.
Oh, so they could volunteer to be the case study.
Yes, and everybody will have the opportunity if they choose to do so, but they also have the freedom not to do so.
Right.
Okay, so
Yeah.
so in essence, they can bring their biggest challenge, whatever that challenge is, and then we will role play it through with a process. So
Nice.
they will actually have a clearing process with me,
Nice.
one-on-one group.
Right.
Now, what I found in Inelia, and I've done this before, quite a few of my retreats, and I did one specifically in clearing. The individual that comes up that we're doing now, this is the first time we're going to give everybody a chance. Okay, but in the past, we usually have 3 or 4 people that actually volunteer from the group that are there. I did one, I guess it was about 2 years ago, and it was focused on clearing. So one individual came up, and we were going through the process of what was the trauma? The trauma was to do with physical violation, sexual violation as a young person. So here's this person, and now I'm doing the process with them. It wasn't on stage, because it was just a retreat, but we were there and we were working, but the whole group was in the room. So we got into that topic while I was doing the clearing with her, going through that process of the sexual abuse. There was 6 other individuals, female, in the room that had the same thing and went through the same process. While I was working with one, they were going through it themselves, and it helped all 7 people, the one I was working with and 6 other individuals at the same time. So what happens is a lot of times some of the things we play with or address, others have, so they all benefit to some degree with
Definitely.
the process. And then if the different individuals come along, so that's what that one is. So we will be doing processes with challenges somebody may have in the group setting, so that everybody benefits from it.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
So that's what
I find that too. Yeah, because there's not a coincidence that everybody who's attending is attending together. Right? Yeah. Time for addressing questions. Oh, that's just a question and answer section, right? Addressing questions.
Yes, if you want to ask for clarity or some questions, then we'll play with that. Yeah.
Okay. That's brilliant. Well, thank you. And maybe a little summary of where they can find you. So francodenicola.com and Franco DeNicola Facebook pages.
Facebook, both
Yeah,
personal, public and personal pages on
right.
both.
Okay.
We
And
also have an event page on that particular retreat too that they can, and then from there I'll take them to Eventbrite where it has the full description that you were looking at, or even more, and of course all the options that they have, so they can join us in person, and then the different packages that they have.
all right. And then the booking of a personal session is not on there. They have to contact you. How do they contact you for that one if they want to do one of those?
Info. Yes, they will go to info@francodenicola.com, and then Kimberly will manage all.
Oh, okay, cool. All right. And it's held at the Ecology
Now,
Retreat Center in what?
Oh, sorry. I was going to say what we've done in past retreats too. If somebody is coming from afar and wants to schedule a session right after that, usually I schedule them for the next day so that they can have sessions with that. So.
Oh, yeah, because it's from the 17th to the 20. Oh, I don't have that here. Second.
17th.
Oh, here it is. Yeah, August 17th to 22nd. So they would book it then for the 23rd if they're coming from abroad.
23rd and 24th, depending on how long they're planning to stay.
They're going to stay.
If they want to hang around for a little while and have that, then they can extend their stay.
Their stay. And they can stay at the retreat center, or do they have to find alternative accommodation for the 22nd?
It's only a couple of days. The retreat center will provide them a package for them to stay a little longer.
Oh, okay.
I need to confirm that. They have, because it's during the week, so it's not a problem, because it will be Thursday, Friday. But usually when it comes to the weekend, if it's another weekend, they usually have retreats, another event coming up, so it's harder to book that.
Of course, yeah.
And if not, then there are places nearby that can be rented, as a place.
And Kimberly's going to help them with that.
Yes, Kimberly will help them out.
Brilliant. And it's at the Ecology Retreat Center, which appears to be really beautiful. All righty then. Yeah. Thank you so much for being game on exploring this retreat. It sounds really amazing. And like I said, when I got this email, it just felt different to me. And that's why I was so excited to talk to you about it. Obviously, we haven't just talked about the retreat, but yeah, it's been awesome. And thank you for providing it,
Yeah, well, you're welcome. And I thank you for taking this time to, expand it further. We have had a great conversation, so people get a better feel of what they're getting.
Absolutely, yeah.